All right, welcome back everyone. It is January 2022, a new year. It is snowing outside here in Flagstaff, and it has been quite some time since I've posted anything new up to the channel. So needless to say, I've had a lot going on. The start of the semester, a lot of preparation for my classes, huge science proposals that are due, all sorts of stuff going on in my personal life that has just swallowed up an enormous amount of my time. However, with that said, there has been one thing that I've been sort of pecking away at on the side that is finally at a point that I want to share with all of you. So before I get into this project that I'm really excited to share with you all, let me give you the very brief history of how I got to where I am. So as you all know, I've had my Royal Enfield Himalayan now for about a year and a half, and in that year and a half, I've basically explored just about every nook and cranny there is in the greater Flagstaff area where I live. And of course the idea there being, one, I just like to explore and get out on the bike, but also I wanted to get a sense of the really fun and exciting routes that are close to my house. So if there's a Thursday afternoon where I find myself with an hour to kill, I know where I can go quickly, have a fun little ride, and still make it back by dinner time. So with that said, before the snows came here in the last few weeks, back in November and December, I started going out on what I called reconnaissance rides, because I started to realize that there were a whole bunch of really fun and thrilling routes that I could possibly connect to make all-day loops. But I didn't have all of the pieces. There were sections that I'd never seen before. There were sections that I was a little nervous about because of the topography or the terrain, and I wasn't sure if they were going to be beyond my skill level. So I started going out and scoping out these unseen sections on these reconnaissance rides. And for the most part, I got to see all the places that I was hoping to see, and I was able to assess which sections I could use, which sections I couldn't. There's a few places I still have to figure out, but for the most part, I was able to go out and design several loops to my liking that not only feature amazing terrain, amazing scenery, but are long enough and varied enough that would just make really fun full days on the bike. So with all that said, it's time that I formally introduce you all to the project that I've been putting together over the last couple of months. The project is called NAZMAT, and it stands for Northern Arizona Motorcycle Adventure Tour. Now the concept here is really quite simple. This is a 4-day group ride adventure tour that will take place in the Flagstaff area. Right now it's scheduled for mid-June, although exact dates are still being worked out. On each day of the tour, we will start and finish in the town of Flagstaff and explore a different geographical region around the city. So on day one, for example, we'll explore the southwest portion of Flagstaff, and then the northwest portion, the northeast portion, and then the southeast portion. Each day will cover about 100 miles or so, and it will be over all sorts of varied terrain, all sorts of different technical levels, amazing points of interest, amazing vistas, and just all around really good and fun, thrilling riding. Now, something to note about the tour is, since this was just an idea I came up with, and it's by a rider for riders, there is no cost associated with it. I'm inviting everyone and anyone who wants to join me to come for this tour in June and just explore some really fun terrain and trails around Flagstaff. So I guess I would also just say this, that I've really spent a lot of time thinking about these routes, exploring some of these routes, and pouring a lot of my heart and soul into coming up with loops that I think will offer the best experiences for anyone that joins on this tour. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that I feel pretty confident that I put together some really exciting loops, and loops that I think you will all enjoy, and loops that are also not so difficult that it will scare away anyone who's more of a beginner or moderate level rider. I myself am still a beginner rider, so I've made sure to not include any sort of class 5 technical sections on any of these loops. Now, with that said, there are definitely some sections along some of these routes that are a little tough, a little tricky, a little technical, that will certainly keep you on your toes. I've been very careful to plot some alternate reroutes around some of the most difficult sections, so that if you are considering maybe coming along for this tour, but you're nervous about the really technical stuff, there will be published reroutes available for those short sections. Nowhere on any of these loops are there any sort of long, sustained, high technical sections. It really does sort of fluctuate and vary from very simple dirt roads up to some technical stuff and then back again, but there's nothing that's just 20 miles of class 4 technical stuff. So I really just want to get that point across, is that this is by riders, for riders, and I want it to be open and accessible to everyone, regardless of skill level. The other thing that I would say is that I wanted all of these routes to be open and accessible to anyone, regardless of what you're riding, as long as it's some sort of ADV bike. So you don't need some crazy lightweight, knobby-tired dual sport. Any ADV bike can get through this terrain. As you know, I ride a Himalayan, and I've ridden 95% of these routes now myself, so that gives you some idea of the difficulty. I want to introduce you to the website for NAZMAT. I put together an entire page that features every day of the trip, shows you all of the routes, goes through some of the definitions of the terrain, and spells out the exact turn-by-turn directions. Now rest assured, I will have GPX tracks uploaded to the site as well that you can load into your Garmin's or your GPS units. But for right now, I don't have the GPXs uploaded. What I do have, however, right now are all of the day's routes uploaded in map form, as well as route descriptions and turn-by-turn instructions. So one of the things you may notice if you go to the website is that there's actually a day 5 and a day 6 listed. These are additional days for anyone that wants to stick around after the first 4 days. And the idea behind those days was to try and get a little bit further out from Flagstaff to explore some very well-known and scenic places. One, of course, being the Grand Canyon, and then the other being the sort of the Sedona area and the Williams area. So those are just extra days for those that want to stick around for it. I plan to do all 6 days myself, but really the tour is centered around the 4 days of off-road riding in and around the Flagstaff area. Now, if you go to the website, there's also details about lodging and where to stay. The 2 options for this tour will basically be camping, which is widely accessible in the area since most of Flagstaff is in Coconino National Forest, which is just open camping. And of course, the other option for lodging is to just stay at a local hotel or motel in the area. And depending on how many people actually come, we might be able to get some sort of group rate. So as you can tell, I'm really excited about this. I'm talking really fast and I got a big smile on my face. And I just really hope that some of you watching decide to come. I know it's always a chore trailering a bike and driving somewhere to go on a tour, but I'm really hoping to get the word out and that some of you watching are interested and decide to make the trip here in June and join me on these rides. But even if no one shows up, I'm gonna go out for 4 days and go on these amazing loops and have the time of my life and document all of it, and it should be a real blast. All right, so it's probably a good idea if I wrap up and end this video. But I want to finish by asking a huge favor of all of you. If you're watching and you think there's even a remote possibility that you might want to come out to Flagstaff in June and participate in NAZMAT, or maybe you have a friend or relative that you think they might want to attend, go to the website, NAZMAT.com, scroll down on the very first page, there is a questionnaire that simply asks, do you think you might be interested in attending NAZMAT? Yes, no, maybe. Just fill that out. Every one of you that fills that out, I will get that response through the website, and it will allow me to gauge the interest in this project and really start to sort of nail down a lot of the plans. So please go fill that out. Even if you're only like 5% sure you want to come, still fill it out so that I have a sense if there's a lot of interest or no interest whatsoever. Regardless of what happens, like I said, I'm still gonna go out and ride these routes myself and have a blast doing it. And I just really hope that some of you out there watching decide to make the trek to Flagstaff and join me. I think it's gonna be really fun, and I think we're gonna have a blast, and there's gonna be some crazy stories to come out of it, and there's gonna be some funny stories and ridiculous wipeouts, and it's just gonna be a blast. And then every night we can sit at a local establishment and laugh about the day, and assuming of course that restaurants are open with the pandemic, you never know. But yeah, that is the plan. So please go to the website, fill out the questionnaire if you're interested, and I will post some additional updates as things start to firm up. But for now, planning on mid-June in Flagstaff, a 4 to 6 day adventure tour, depending on how many days you want to attend, and free to participate. So I look forward to getting some responses, and thank you so much for watching. I hope to see some of you in June. Take care, be safe, and hopefully these snows end so I can get out on the bike soon. See y'all.